Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of today's top stories. A bus crash in northern Alberta sends multiple victims to hospital with serious injuries. City Council grapples with big decisions on a couple of issues: ambulance service and wastewater. We have the details. Prime Minister Mark Carney finally meets Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen and the Artemis II crew in Ottawa and thanks them for their inspiring journey.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks for joining us. But we start tonight with breaking news on the Alberta separatism front. A Court of King's Bench judge has thrown out Elections Alberta's approval of the petition from the group Stay Free Alberta, seeking a referendum on Alberta independence. The group's petition had garnered more than 300,000 signatures, but in two rulings Wednesday, Justice Shayna Leonard found that Chief Electoral Officer Gordon McClure made an error in law to approve the second petition and failed to consider an earlier decision that said separation would violate First Nation treaty rights. The petition was being challenged in court by the Athabasca Chippewan First Nation, Blood Tribe, Piikani Nation, and Siksika Nation. Leonard says the error of law renders the Chief Electoral Officer's decision unreasonable. Jeff Rath, a lawyer representing Stay Free Alberta, says the group disagrees with the judge's decision and is planning to appeal. Multiple people have been taken to hospital with serious injuries after a charter bus rollover northwest of Edmonton. Mounties responded to the crash this morning on Highway 672 near Beaver Lodge, west of Grand Prairie. No fatalities have been reported, but Stars Air Ambulance was called to airlift two critically injured passengers to Grand Prairie Regional Hospital. RCMPs say there were 17 people on the bus, and some were also being assessed for minor injuries at the scene. Mounties also say it's not clear why the bus veered off the road, and the investigation is ongoing. There are more twists and turns to tell you about in the ongoing saga surrounding emergency medical services, or EMS, in the province, including here in Lethbridge. On Tuesday evening, Lethbridge City Council voted 7-2 to reject a rescinded motion that would have pulled back its initial decision to notify the province its intent to not accept covering extra costs in a new integrated EMS services contract. Council rejected the proposed contract over what they described could have had a significant financial impact on taxpayers. EHS has told the city if it refuses to accept covering new costs above the benchmark model of the proposed contract, EHS will move forward with either a procurement process or direct delivery model. Mayor Blaine Higgins says this isn't a decision to walk away from integrated fire and EMS, but simply the unachievable EHS cost condition, which the city estimated could have added an extra 1.8% tax increase in 2027 alone.
Do we want to pay more? Or do we want to not accept that and go down another path, which, and it says right in the motion here, preserve the city's right to participate in further negotiations and or request for proposal process, which absolutely, that's what I want to do. I want to keep this service in our community. But that's the plan that I think moving forward, we can do that. It's not right. You know, we're 42% higher than a majority of the communities in Alberta. We need to do better. We got to find out how we can be better, but that's going to take some time. And the conversations have to be had, and we'll figure out what we can do to keep this service.
Elsewhere in Alberta, Red Deer and Strathcona County have accepted the EHS proposal for their communities, while the cities of Leduc and Spruce Grove have rejected theirs. And less than 24 hours after the city's decision on the future of integrated emergency services, the Community Issues Committee considered the looming risks behind the city's wastewater treatment plant. During their meeting Wednesday morning, they voted unanimously to recommend moving forward with critical upgrades to the plant, which is aging at capacity and could soon be at risk of failure. It's been recommended that the plant expands by an additional 50% capacity, which counts for 20 million liters per day of flow.
Today's approval means we're permitted to move up construction. Instead of coming in the fall and requesting getting council approval, we can now proceed. Once it's approved within City Council, we can begin construction and start building for the future.
So the estimated total cost and what was approved today by CIC is $285 million for construction. In regards to funding that $285 million, there's $261 million that will come from borrowings and $24 million that will come from reserves.
It's expected the construction cost could reach $285 million, funded primarily through borrowings and reserves. Construction is expected to begin as soon as this fall, pending council approval. Prime Minister Mark Carney met in his Parliament Hill office with Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen and his Artemis II crewmates on Wednesday. Carney, who had previously spoken to the crew while they were in space, joked that this was the first time he'd spoken to Hansen and the crew on Earth.
He mentioned in one of his comments that this mission, which involves some risk, hadn't been done. This is as far as any people had gone into space, but it was risk for a reason, and risk to set up even bigger opportunities. So we're going to have a chance to talk about that, talk about what Canada can do to help contribute to that. But it's a big, big lesson, I think, for all Canadians of what teamwork does, what dedication does, what courage does, what human ingenuity is capable of, and that it's just the beginning. So welcome to Ottawa, and thank you for what you've already done. Thank you for inspiring us all.
For us to be here, our first return to the country, a warm embrace of Canada that we felt from the extremes of the moon is just a real treat for us. And I really resonate with your words, sir, about this just shining a light back on Canada about what we are capable of on the world stage, and that Artemis II was just a step in a much longer journey for us. And like you, we can't wait to be part of what's next. So we did bring something for you, as promised. Good on our word.
Fantastic.
So here, sir, is the flag that flew with us around the moon.
That is amazing. And I have something for you, a flag for a flag. Jeremy, I'm afraid we only have one. And this is, if you look out that window on top of what's called the Peace Tower, is obviously the Canadian flag, and this is the flag that flew on the day you splashed down.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
That is absolutely extraordinary. So, should I open this or not? Is that a good idea?
I have opened one of, you can open it, but I've opened one of them before, and these are all scientists, so they have a sense of dimensions. They're really, really big.
It is in there.
It is in there, and there is an art to folding it back up, which obviously don't know. All right.
That is a true honor, and it really resonates with me. I felt like Canada was with us as we flew around the moon, and the fact that this was flying that day, this means a lot. Thank you.
The Artemis II crew flew around the moon and back, traveling farther from the planet than anyone in human history. The drug counselor who delivered Friends star Matthew Perry the ketamine doses that killed him has been sentenced to 2 years in prison. 56-year-old Eric Fleming was the fourth defendant sentenced out of the 5 people who pleaded guilty in prosecutions over the Canadian-born actor's 2023 death. Fleming connected Perry to the convicted drug dealer Jasveen Sangra, who prosecutors called the ketamine queen. She was sentenced last month to 15 years in prison. There are several reports circulating today claiming that Alberta and Ottawa are close to a deal on industrial carbon pricing. Both the CBC and the Calgary Herald are quoting sources in Ottawa who are confirming that both levels of government have agreed that Alberta's effective carbon price would increase to $130 per ton by 2040. That is a significant change from Ottawa's original target of $170 per ton by 2030. Sources in Ottawa are saying an official announcement could come by the end of the week. The Alberta and federal governments are also joining forces to get more affordable housing built in the province. Minister of Assisted Living and Social Services Jason Nixon announced $323 million in joint federal provincial funding.
This record funding will support 41 projects in communities across Alberta, building more than 3,600 new affordable homes for those who need them most. From Canmore to Grand Prairie and Lethbridge to Whitecourt, from the heart of Calgary and Edmonton to communities like Bassano, Okotoks, Spruce Grove and Claresholm, these projects will make a difference. The need for safe, stable, affordable housing does not stop at any city limits, and neither does this investment. This is Alberta building at a scale because the people of this province deserve nothing less.
In 2021, the province launched the Stronger Foundations Plan with a target of increasing affordable housing stock by 40% by the year 2031. Nixon says this latest funding will put the province 70% of the way to achieving that goal. The group Farming Smarter is taking young farmers under their wing with a new program. The Mentorship Relationships in the Agricultural Community program will see younger and newer farmers mentored on crop production, farm management, sustainability, and other key agricultural skills. Sean Chose with the Farming Smarter says the program helps connect experienced producers with the next generation of farmers while strengthening the future of agriculture in the region.
It's incredibly important for younger people to learn more about agriculture, especially here in southern Alberta, just because it's an incredibly important agriculture corridor for the world. We have a ton of products and producers in the area, many of whom are expanding, and we'd love to see more involvement. Our primary role in this program is going to be facilitating the pairs and making sure that they have lots of opportunity to connect so they can share knowledge. The inexperienced or new farmers receive guidance and help with their operations. We'd love to have 10 pairs, so a total of 20 farmers or agronomists involved in this. And it's a completely free program. To apply to the program as a mentee, all you have to be is a farmer in southwestern Alberta. If you're new, just got into the industry, we'd be happy to take you. Otherwise, even if you've been farming for a couple of years, if you're looking to get into anything new, so right now, southwestern Alberta, farmers are critical to its success, and being able to provide them with an opportunity to not only grow the communities, but also to grow the skills in those communities is, I think, incredibly valuable and a major need right now.
Choss says the program has been launched thanks to a grant of $15,000 received from the Community Foundation of Lethbridge and Southwestern Alberta. The application for both mentors and proteges will open at the end of May of 2026. The program will run throughout the year and is tentatively expected to conclude at the end of spring 2027. Well, some big news in the world of sports. The Toronto Maple Leafs announced that Craig Berube is out as a head coach. He was fired by new GM John Chayka. The Leafs missed the playoffs this year for the first time in a decade. Berube spent 2 years in the position. There's no immediate word on a replacement. There is also some sad news to pass along in sports. Memphis Grizzlies forward Brandon Clark, who was born in Vancouver and raised in Arizona, has died at the age of 29. We get more from the Canadian Press.
The Memphis Grizzlies confirmed the news but didn't provide a cause of death for the forward in their announcement on X. Clark was drafted 21st overall in 2019 and played his entire career with the Grizzlies. He was named to the NBA All-Rookie First Team in 2020. Clark was limited to 2 games in the 2025-26 season due to right knee surgery and a right calf strain. Last month, he was arrested in Arkansas on charges including speeding and possession of a controlled substance. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says Clark was a beloved teammate who played with passion and grit.
Authorities are now saying Clark was found dead in a home in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. They say drug paraphernalia was found in the home, and the incident is being investigated as a possible overdose. This Victoria Day-long weekend, I bet a number of you might see wedding parties congregating around churches, lakes, and in the mountains. That's because wedding season is upon us in southern Alberta. BCN's Naveen Day chatted with various professionals in our wedding industry. He learned what makes southern Alberta so attractive and affordable and what trends are changing.
It's becoming less of a secret that southern Alberta is a choice location for a wedding. In Lethbridge, there is an abundance of churches and halls to host your ceremony and reception, or our beautiful parks such as Henderson Lake and the Nikko Yuko Japanese Garden are other options. Or an hour-long drive in any direction will take you to a variety of settings, including gorgeous mountain views, pristine lakes, and vast prairies. Sharissa Clam is a wedding designer and owner of CK Wedding Designs. She says Banff remains a top destination for weddings, but Waterton will provide the same backdrop at a fraction of the price.
Just from the weddings that us wedding planners and designers here in Southern Alberta have done, I can say it's about a $10,000 to $30,000 price drop just for coming to Southern Alberta. We still have the gorgeous venues that are going to be the high prices, but if you're looking for that mountain backdrop, you are going to pay half of what you pay at Banff National Park.
The shift to do a wedding on a tighter budget appears to be bringing more weddings to Southern Alberta. In addition to this shift in trend, wedding planner Kayla Lee with Pink Tie Events says that couples are planning smaller, more intimate events. She says this trend began during the COVID-19 pandemic and stuck around.
That really pushed couples to be different and plan their weddings in a unique way. We had to drop down to a way smaller scale when it came to weddings. We had to have a smaller guest count, and brides started to notice that they wanted their weddings to feel more personalized and genuine and have more of an experience than more so of like a production for their wedding. So I would definitely say weddings have changed significantly.
Another shift in trend is a return to faith, particularly with Generation Z. Wedding efficient David Leavitt says inviting God to the wedding will bring more success to the marriage.
That particular Gen Z, I would say, has a little bit of a return to religion. It's always important to remember as you're entering into a marriage that this is, if you make it a covenant with God, you've got an opportunity to even make that marriage that much more successful and long-lasting whenever you bring religion and specifically God into the equation.
For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
Western Canadian farmers need to update their seed playbooks for 2027. Corteva has officially announced a major brand reshuffle as it separates into two independent companies, the crop protection-focused Corteva and the newly minted seed giant Vylor. Now, the biggest headline for the West is the Brevant brand is pulling out. As of July, Brevant soybeans and canola will no longer be available in Western Canada, though the brand will remain in the East. However, the genetics aren't disappearing entirely. Windfield United Canada is stepping up to keep three specific Brevant canola lines still alive, rebranding them under their crop plan portfolio for 2027. Meanwhile, the specialty Nexera canola hybrids are getting a new home. They're being rebranded as Pioneer Identity Preserved and will be sold exclusively through Pioneer agencies. As Vylor officially launches this fall, it will house both the Pioneer and Brevant banners globally, but on the prairies, the shift is all about consolidation and a specialized agency access through Pioneer. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with RealAgriculture.com.
Southern Alberta seems to be leading the province in crop seeding with 26% of fields planted by early May. Though the pace is slightly behind the 36.5% five-year average, Saskatchewan has fallen behind its usual pace because of cold temperatures and too much moisture. The province says at about this time last year, 18% of the crops were seeded, compared with only 3% in the most recent crop report. On top of inclement weather, farmers are also dealing with diesel and fertilizer prices that have nearly doubled due to the war in the Middle East. Astute dairy shoppers may have noticed a new milk option in some Ontario grocery stores. Instead of the usual 1 or 2% or even 3% milk, this new milk is 6%. Canadian Press reporter Nicole Thompson has more.
Typically, when milk comes out of the cow, it's really only at about 4% fat. To make it 6% fat, the dairy producers use the same process that they do to make a skim milk or a lower fat milk option, and they spin it really fast to create a centrifugal force, and that separates the fat from the skim, the non-fat milk, and then they recombine it, but with a higher ratio of fat than when it comes out of the udder. So the company that's making it is Seal Test, and their parent company, AgriPure, says that they were asked by the South Asian community to create this higher fat milk product because it's used for things like yogurt, ricotta cheese, lassis. So it's more of a staple in the South Asian diet than it is in North Americans' diets, and the higher fat option tastes more like what you would get in India. And there is like a 6% milk option in India that's existed for a long time and that has been brought over in recent years to the North American market. So this is just sort of an answer to that.
AgriPure says it will monitor the milk's performance and consider expanding its availability. And with that, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was down 249 points on the day to 34,041. The Dow was down 67 to 49,693. The S&P 500 was up 43 to 7444, and the Nasdaq was up 314 points to finish at 26,402. West Texas Intermediate oil was down $1.14 to 101.05 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 3 cents to 2.87 US. Gold was down $26.40 to 46.8873 US an ounce, and silver was up 94 cents to 87.48 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.79 per bushel. Barley is at $7.14. Canola is at $17.01, and corn is at $7.87 per bushel. Live cattle June contract was up $5.10 to $252.80. Feeder cattle were up $1.43 to $367.33. Lean hogs were down 3 cents to $90.90. And the Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours at 73 cents US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, it could be back to the drawing board for Alberta separatists. The petition put forward by the group Stay Free Alberta seeking a referendum on independence has been tossed by a Court of King's Bench judge. The petition garnered more than 300,000 signatures. But on Wednesday, the judge ruled the chief electoral officer made an error in law to approve the petition and failed to consider an earlier decision that said separation would violate First Nation treaty rights. The lawyer for Stay Free Alberta says they plan to appeal. Is the school classroom the place for social justice or gender ideology issues to be taught? Dr. Marco Navarro-Gini with the Frontier Centre for Public Policy shares his thoughts with Naveen Day on this important issue. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content or our poll questions.